I'm convinced that Nvidia will top the charts as the biggest company on earth. I've been buying Nvidia stock well before the split, and I'll be buying it long after the split as well.
I'm shocked. I'm absolutely shocked that that's the highest price target on the street. Somebody needs to have a $2,000 price target on this, right?
It's my moral responsibility to call it that we are now in the stock market AI bubble.
Hi Team Value, JJ here, welcome back. Well, is it still early days for Nvidia stock, or are we in an AI stock bubble? I'm going to look at the bull and bear case for that with some of the most popular investing YouTubers out there to see what they've got to say, and I'll react to it. So let's get into it. Now, this is Alex from ticker symbol U talking about Nvidia. He's very bullish still.
Let's talk about Nvidia's stock. Jensen Huang just delivered a crazy keynote at COMPUTEX, and I'm convinced that Wall Street does not understand Nvidia. Nvidia is now bigger than Apple, and the stock has more than tripled over the last year alone, so it's easy to assume that this has to be the top. But the key to finding great stocks is understanding a company's products, not just their profits. And after this keynote, I'm convinced that Nvidia will top the charts as the biggest company on earth. And I personally believe that Nvidia will be bigger than Microsoft by the end of the year. Nvidia is not just a hardware company, they're an end-to-end AI computing platform. Nvidia has a lot of software that they've built on top of that hardware, and they're still in the very early innings. My point is that Nvidia has a lot of room to grow into their existing markets, and a lot of new markets that they can grow into as well. In fact, their own earnings slides point out what they see as a $1 trillion per year opportunity, with a big chunk of that going to software, not just hardware. So for me, this is a long-term investment. I've been buying Nvidia stock well before the split, and I'll be buying it long after the split as well. And if the stock drops by 10, 20, or even 50% from here, that just means that I'll be buying even more shares at an even better price. And this is why it's so important to understand the science behind the stocks.
So clearly he's still very bullish on the stock. He thinks it's going to be the biggest company, the biggest stock in the world by the end of this year. It's getting there already. It's reached a $3 trillion market cap. So he's really talking it up here. He's very bullish. He talks about the science behind the stocks, understanding the science behind the stock, and that will propel it higher. And this is the kind of thing that we have seen before in history. Those of us who remember Cisco during the dot-com bubble, who are old enough to remember that, have seen things like this play out. And many people have said that it's like Cisco. It remains to be seen. Will Alex be right here? It has to be said that he was well into ARK back when it was skyrocketing, and the ARK stocks, and he's gone back on that, and Tesla as well. So he does tend to go with whatever's popular. So I do wonder if Nvidia stock drops, whether he'll change his tune and have a story for that. I've talked to him on X. He's bullish on it now, but he does say that he's not afraid to sell. But he also said here that he's very long term. And Stan Druckenmiller, one of the best investors in the world over the past few decades, he hasn't had a negative return in over 30 years. I think it's approaching 40 years. He sold down, I think, 72% around there of his Nvidia stock. He did acknowledge that it was a bubble and that he was riding it. And in Q1 2024, he did sell down quite a lot. But he did say that he would be going in and out of it over the next 10 years. He said he probably would be owning Nvidia over the next 10 years.
Let's get into Nvidia.
On Nvidia, it's already been a huge year for the stock, obviously. Shares, though, up over 130% so far just in 2024, surpassing that $1,000 milestone for the first time a few weeks ago, and just this morning hitting another record high. But it hasn't just been this year, right? Nvidia's dominance sending shares skyrocketing over 500% in the last 2 years. All of Nvidia's momentum leading to a lot of bullishness across Wall Street. Bank of America becoming the latest, hiking their price target on Nvidia this week from $1,320 to $1,500. This is now the highest call on Wall Street.
We are just at the start of this cycle. We think that the spending could be anywhere between $250 to $500 billion a year, and Nvidia is leading the charge. And I know there is often this comparison to, let's compare it to Intel of the past, or let's compare it to Cisco of the past, or other parts of the technology upgrade cycles. But what is different is that NVIDIA is bringing a combination of silicon, of systems, of networking, of software, of developers And that is unprecedented.
Let me say this, okay? I'm shocked. I'm absolutely shocked that that's the highest price target on the street. Somebody needs to have a $2,000 price target on this, right? I was calling this out 6+ months ago, talking about Nvidia in this cycle, before it's all said and done, is going to go to $1,500 to $2,000, right? And which once the split happens, that'll be $150 to $200, right? And then I think it will likely peak. There'll likely be, you'll see a major slowing in the business. There'll be, customers won't order as much. Then AMD will actually start seeming like more of an actual competitive threat by that point in time, which they really haven't up until this point in time, right? And then you'll get more of these big techs to create some of their own custom chips. And then you'll see kind of like demand weaken overall. And then long-term demand's going to be there for Nvidia, right? Long-term, the business is going to be there, but these businesses go through cycles. They go through very hot, like 3 to 5 year chip cycles, right? We're in year 2 of that chip cycle, so likely next year will be another great year for Nvidia in regards to this chip cycle. And then maybe 2026 or 2027, they start to see a pretty nice slowdown. Now the stock will have topped way before that, though. That's an important thing to understand. The stock price will top probably minimum 6 months, if not 9 to 12 months before the business actually tops. So it's important to understand kind of, these stocks price things in the future that's going to happen, right? So, but yeah, shocked. I mean, crazy that no one has a $2,000 price target on this stock. It just seems like it should.
So this, of course, is Jeremy from Financial Education on YouTube, another massive YouTuber, big audience here. So he is acknowledging the cyclicality of the industry here, which is interesting to see. And he does predict that it's going to get hit 1,500. Now, I don't like how Jeremy does predict things. He tends to try and predict the macro, says it like it's fact, like this is going to happen. And, it's so impossible to predict the macro. Warren Buffett said that all the time. He doesn't do that. And we first saw their Bank of America analyst who is predicting 1,500 for the stock. Post-split, that's 150. It has split now. So I think today it was up, as I speak, as I record, over 120. I mean, in the new dollars, the post-split. And so Jeremy here thinks, he is acknowledging that the stock's going to go down. He is invested in it. You think it's going to get to 1,500 and then maybe more than that probably, but at some point go down. So he's trying to time it. He realizes the cyclicality. So he doesn't say it's a bubble, but he realizes that it could go down, or that's what he thinks is going to happen. So quite different from Alex, who didn't acknowledge that at all. Can he time this correctly? He got in just before 1,000, I think, but he thinks it's going to run up and then go down, and then the stock market is forward-looking, so it's kind of guesswork when it could go down, or could it keep going and going and going. Aswath Damodaran has said that it's overpriced, and as I said, Stanley Druckenmiller sold some. Aswath Damodaran is invested as well, but he thinks it's well overpriced. Now, if you're getting value out of this episode so far, I'd really appreciate it if you remember to smash that like button to help the algorithm to spread it to more people. It really does help. And if you're new here, do consider subscribing if you want to get more of this kind of content in the future. Okay, now we have an opposing view from another big investing YouTuber, Sven Carlin, who is a value investor. Big audience here. He does think it's an AI bubble, and he lays out why. Let's see what Sven's got to say.
It's my moral responsibility to call it that we are now in the stock market AI bubble. We have the AI stock market craze. Nvidia has exploded 10x over the less than 2 years. ASML holding is at all-time highs with a market cap of 414 billion. The crazier the stock price, the more exuberant are the projections when it comes to what will happen. And that is also pushing the S&P 500 higher and higher. People are not thinking about price. The P ratio is at 27, way above the average historical. Nobody cares because, Sven, you're stupid, you're an idiot. AI will make so much money for everyone that it's going to be crazy, and Sven, you're going to miss out on the huge run because you don't understand. I want to show you my opinion And why I'm happy to miss out on the AI craze. How will AI change the world? Here it is. AI could increase corporate profits by 4.4 trillion a year. That is 150% on current profits, according to new research. Now, where is the exuberance here? If AI makes everyone so smart, which means the competition will increase hugely, which means the benefits will all go to the customer. Just an example from 25 years ago, how the internet changed the world. Did the internet change the world? Absolutely yes. You're now watching me doing this video, but you're doing that practically for free. It doesn't cost you anything. You pay your monthly flat fee and that's it. You're using internet. 25 years ago, the price of that would be enormous. There could be a lot of profits. But what happens when there is so much investment in these things? Prices usually go down. And this is the story, the same story we had 25 years ago. Cisco, yes, it did grow, it did change the world, but investors from there didn't make much money. The Nasdaq Composite from the last bubble, investors there didn't make much money. These are meager returns till now. Yes, if you joined here, you feel a genius, but very often risk can be confused as intelligence in a bull market. Why didn't it just continue to go up? Because of competition. If you just look at the internet transit prices, this is 99% down, and likely now we are still even lower.
Okay, there was a lot in there from Sven, and he did lay out a good case. That was actually just a summary, and I'll link to all of these videos from these YouTubers, these investors, in the description as well if you want to see the whole videos. They're all just summaries, much longer videos. So Sven laid out the good case there, and I do tend to agree with him rather than the others, although Jeremy didn't say that he thought it was a bubble or not, but having watched his videos regularly, I know that he doesn't think that. He thinks the fundamentals of the company are good, and they are, and that's not the argument here, because good companies sometimes do get into bubbles. It happened in the Nifty 50. There were good companies, very good, and a lot of bubbles start with a grain of truth. And so I do tend to agree with Sven here. This might be a good time to say it's not investment advice. And so I'm not giving any recommendation on the stock at all. I don't do that. Everything you see in my videos is for general education and entertainment purposes. You need to do your own research or seek a professional financial advice from a licensed professional, which I am not. Now, Sven in there did acknowledge the cyclicality. He said that at some point earnings will go down again. It's been riding this wave. We can see that the wave of technology enthusiasm there, anything related to AI, has gone in this huge upswing. And he showed in history there what's happened in the past when that has happened, and history does tend to rhyme. It doesn't repeat exactly. He pointed to the dot-com bubble there. It is different. The earnings are solid here. He did compare it to Cisco, which has, people have been talking about Cisco, where it reached that huge peak during the dot-com bubble. Microsoft as well did reach a huge peak. I think it was $600 billion market cap at that time. It's surpassed that now, and nobody's saying that Nvidia won't go up again if it goes down. It's a good company. It seems to have a very good future, but as the market getting carried away, we saw there Jeremy thinks it's going to reach at least 1,500. He probably thinks more than that. Alex from Ticker Symbol U thinks it's just going to go on forever. He seems to ride these popular waves with his videos. And Sven here, I think, has been quite sensible. He's not getting involved in it all, and that's a value investing way not to get involved in the exuberance at all, which is very hard to do. There's FOMO involved in these things. When you see stocks going to the moon, it happened with Tesla when it got to over 400 and it went down and it struggled. Nvidia is the poster child of AI, and it's definitely taking a lot of technology stocks with it that have gone up this year. And the stock split with Nvidia's just happened, and it's still going up. Let me know what you think about Nvidia. Do you think it'll keep going up? How long do you think it'll be going up for? Do you think its future is secure and it'll just keep going up for a long time yet? Or do you think it's due for a crash at some point or a decline? Or even do you think it'll just plateau and have solid earnings forever? Or do you think this is going to be cyclical? Let me know in the comments what you think. I'd really like to know. Now, I do talk about companies and stocks like Nvidia more on my Patreon, as well as other smaller companies. I'm more interested in mid and small cap. So if you're interested in that, I'll leave a link in the description to the Art of Value Patreon and see you over there. Now, if you're watching this episode on YouTube, I'm going to put 2 previous episodes here about Nvidia that I've made recently. I'll put the links in the description for those watching elsewhere. And thanks to everybody for watching or listening, and I'll see you in the next one.